Hey guys, it is February 14th, about 3:45. Happy Valentine's Day for those of you who care. Um, anyways, last night was a great night. I finally talked to my dad for a long time. But I wrote him a letter, which if you want to read it, go to my Tumblr. I don't know how to put links in the down thing, so just go to my page. But I talked to him for a long, long time. He read the letter. He went to the bedroom and, of course, read his letter. He had to get his glasses. So he comes out and he's like, well, that's nothing I didn't know. And it kind of left me speechless for a moment. I'm like, Dad, do you realize what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah, we've always kind of assumed that. And then we talked a lot. And I guess the big things he was saying was, like, A, it's nothing he didn't know. B, that he kind of just feels, he's like, nothing really upsets me aside from the fact that I feel sorry for you because it's like you're stuck in a neverland. You know, you're neither here nor there. And he's like, I can't imagine that life is hard enough. And he's like, so I just feel bad for, what you have to go through. And I'm like, okay. Which is true. I mean, yeah, it's tough, but I didn't expect him to say that. And then what else did he say? He wouldn't love me any less, obviously. He's like, I could care less. So I'm still kind of in shock over how well it went. Like, if I could have videotaped it, I would have posted it with the title of The Best Coming Out Ever, which is great. I wish everyone would have the same experience I did. And then I think the best part was at one point he just is like all giddy and he turns to my mom who's sitting next to him. He's like, does this mean I get a son? And my mom's like, yes, honey. And he's like, and it was just, I don't know, my heart just about exploded with happiness. So it was a really, really good night. And I just kind of, like, as we were talking, like, we started talking about everything. It wasn't just like, Dad, I'm, gender questioning, transgender, this is what it means. It was, we talked about everything. Hormones. And he's like, well, try it. If it's going to help you, try it. And I'm like, I was the one in shock last night. And then we talked a lot about bathrooms. He's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, Dad, you've always known I've hated bathrooms. He's like, I know. And then we talked about swimming because I'm an avid swimmer and I haven't swam in a while just because I'm not comfortable. And he's like, well, we'll have to get you like a wetsuit kind of thing so you can go swimming. And I was like, okay, you want to pay for it? But, and we talked about, me finding a life partner eventually. And he's like, it'll be interesting to see who you end up with. And I'm just like, are you going to care either way? And he's like, no. And like I said, I'm still kind of in shock. But, God, we just talked about everything. And in the beginning, he's like, well, can you become a guy? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, there are medical ways of doing it. And he's like, okay. And then, I don't know. And we did talk about church because, I was born and raised Catholic and we've always gone to church. Like every Sunday we go to church. And he's like, well, go to Unity. And I'm just like, you're going to let me change religions? He's like, it's not changing religions, it's just so Christian. He and I have always said we're bad Catholics in that we're really good Christians. No, we're really good Christians, but we're bad Catholics because we don't subscribe to the doctrine and everything like that. So he's like, well, go to Unity. And I said, okay. And, and God, I was just amazed. And we just talked about everything, finding, and, I told him, yeah, it stopped me from a couple decisions in my life. Like when I was 19, I went through a bunch of interview process for the military and I stopped. And so I finally told him that's why. And he's like, okay, that makes sense. And then he had always said, maybe for medical school or for anything else, graduate school, go through the military. That's the word. So that they'll pay for it. And I was like, well, I'd love to, but they don't really want me. Their loss. But, so we talked all about that. All about that. And then we're talking more about my future, and he's like, well, I think you need to stay in an academic setting, get your PhD, get your MD, so that you can stay at a university and you can teach and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm planning on it, Dad. You already know that. He's like, I know. So, I don't know, I'm pretty happy. So, it went really, really well. And I remember my mom's there the whole time, and she's sitting there talking with us, and she's read a bit more because I talked to her first, and so she's, explaining some things to my dad that she didn't know, and then she has some questions, and it was just like, there's just a whole new level of openness and communication between my parents and I, and it's kind of amazing. And I'm just like, whoa, because I don't have to conceal that bit of me. So it was awesome. Awesome. Um, Other things. God, I feel like I'm just like moving along so quickly that I just want to document everything and make a video like every 10 minutes. So I have to make notes throughout the day of what I want to talk about. So what else? I made an appointment with my primary physician for next week to discuss hormones, maybe getting some preliminary blood work done and everything like that. It is the primary that I've had for years and years, but I checked their discrimination statement and gender identity is included, so that's nice. And I've known her for a long time and she's amazing and I love her. So that'll be good. I met with one of my professors on campus who does a lot of the suicide prevention in the LGBTQ communities. So I met with her and we talked for a while, and she gave me resources. It wasn't anything I didn't already have, but still it was nice talking to her. And she said she'd put me in contact with Jamison Green, and I'm like, awesome. And then she also said that should I choose to transition, over the summer or something and come back next year, she will make sure that there are some provisions in place for me as far as like protection, and we'll figure out the restrooms. And I'm just like, cool. She's like, I'm not sure if there's anything university wide, but at least in our department we can figure something out, just to protect you. And I'm like, thank you. And it was great. And then I'm going to meet with her again to discuss my possible undergraduate field studies, maybe be going into high schools and middle schools in the area and doing some suicide prevention, like that kind of work. So a lot happened, and it's awesome. And then I'll end on this note. I think it's really true that you always need to keep keep a good sense of humor about everything. It just makes life easier. So on Saturday night, I'm standing in the kitchen talking with my friend Caitlin, who I'm out to, and so we're just standing there making dinner. I'm cooking up some frozen stir-fried vegetables, and we're talking about different parts of transitioning, that kind of stuff like that. And I went to check if the vegetables were done, so I take a green bean out and I bite it off, and it's not done. It's still frozen, so not even thinking, I threw it back in the pan. And she just kind of looks at me, and I'm like, sorry. I was like, we're like so close anyways, and she's like, I know. But she could have gotten me like infected or transfected. And I just stopped and I went, and she goes, oh shit. And she meant like in the biology term sense, but we just about both fell down laughing. It was the first time I ever joked about being trans, and it felt so good, but we just about died of laughter. I'm like, I'm sorry I give you the transfection, but it was hilarious. You may have had to been there, but it was great. So that was my bit of rolling on the ground humor for Saturday evening. And anyways, that was essentially my coming out story. And it was awesome. And from here on, I gotta start coming out to friends, but parents were the big one. So I am happy, and I hope you guys are happy too. Talk to you later. Bye.